Welcome, Pavan.
Thank you, Sheba.
It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for making the time to have a soul brew with me. And welcome to Coffee and Soul.
Would I ever say no to you, Sheba?
That's so kind. Thank you. I'm hoping that you're carrying your cup of coffee with you.
I'm carrying a cup of coffee as instructed.
Yeah. Okay.
Another glass.
Okay, just
I
in case.
believe that you should have more.
So what I do is just pour myself a cuppa as well. And
is that your first or your second or your third?
Actually my second.
Likewise.
Yeah, all right. Cheers, Pavan. And it's a pleasure to have you here. So delighted that you could make the time for this.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Pavan, can I ask you to just hold this cup in your hands? And can you just sit back and close your eyes? And what comes to your mind? What's the visual? It could be anything. This warm cup of coffee.
Yeah. It's not one visual, Shiva. I'm a restless guy. The images of Archana, Tarana, we talked about that. It was mom's birthday a couple of days back.
Yeah.
So mom, US, GenWe, all in fleeting seconds. I covered a lot.
That's amazing. That says a lot about you, Pavan, in terms of how quickly your synapses kick in terms of creativity. That's amazing. What do all these images mean for you? What does it?
Actually, it's interesting to sit back, close your eyes, and really focus on what's going in front of you. Typically, millions of things that go past and you don't necessarily pay attention. Look, family has always been important, Shiva, and it somehow is always the first port of call when you think about something. GenWe is very close to family now. It's my pet project, it's my passion. So it stays in my thoughts 24/7. And we were just talking about dad. It's emotionally, you just feel torn when you're not with someone who's close to you.
Yeah, I know. I totally get that. And what I'm hearing you say is, and this keeps coming up, and you have this brilliant smile on your face when you talk about GenWe. And I would have asked you the question later, but no, like it's so compelling that I have to ask you right now. So tell me, what is GenWe? Can you talk about it a little bit, Pavan?
Yeah, but GenWe actually was a figment of my imagination, which is now coming close to reality. We've always found, we've lived in so many different countries, and we've always found people are really welcoming. And while they're different, they look different, they talk different, they've always been very welcoming. And we've been programmed since childhood, friends, family, etc., to be careful of differences. And that thought kept buzzing around saying, look, if we keep looking at differences and if we keep being careful about differences, the world will be divided into silos. So GenWe is all about leveraging youth power. And the name itself basically comes from, everyone thinks I, you, them, me. And I wanted to work with teenagers to make them feel part of a we culture.
Amazing.
And move away from this I, you, them, me. And that's where the name GenWe comes in. And the mission is about bringing the world closer, because I do believe the youth of today, the teenagers, are so savvy. They want to create a world which is very different from the world that we created.
Right. Right.
Just technology and that power coming together is what I'm trying to do. I'm pairing teenagers from different backgrounds, socioeconomic, cultural backgrounds. And the pairing is done very, very carefully. And these are two strangers who don't know that they exist on planet Earth. They get,
Wonderful. Yeah.
and at the core of the platform, Sheba, is dialogue, because it is conversations and dialogues that have broken down between people who are different from each other, and we are enabling that dialogue to happen. And then there's scaffolding around the dialogue, relationship scaffolding around the dialogue, where they attend online programs together, they attend webinars together, they play virtual games,
That's
uh,
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
just so that it's not only about learning from that dialogue, it's about learning from each other, it's learning from experts. So the teenagers get a holistic kind of, I won't call it education, real life leadership skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a powerful idea. And the fact that you're doing this for teenagers, obviously, would I be right in saying that one of the inspirations for that has been your daughter, Tarana, or is that not really true?
No, it's absolutely true, Sheila. Tarana has a friend called Bubbly.
Hmm,
Now, Bubbly comes from an underserved background in Delhi.
hmm, hmm,
And Tarana and Bubbly have been at it in terms of
hmm,
dialogue for the last 2 years.
hmm.
And it's fascinating to just hear
Yeah.
what they talk about, right?
Hmm, hmm.
From um, Tarana practicing her Hindi because she's been out of the country for the
Right.
last, Bubbly practicing her English,
Right.
to YouTube, to a little bit of clothes, to movies,
Right.
studies. They cover a range of topics.
So amazing.
And when
Yeah.
we go back,
Yeah.
Tarana wants to meet Bubbly. Every time we go, she goes and spends time with Bubbly at her place.
Hmm.
It's lovely to watch.
Right. Yeah. 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 And I guess they really cross boundaries, right? And that's what I'm hearing you say. So what a model to try and bring into mainstream as such. And I think I mean I feel really excited about this idea. So I'm sure it's going to go places on this one.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you.
Pavan, you've had a very interesting journey in terms of work, and from whatever little I know. And can you talk a little bit about that? You know, your as you reflect on your life, some of your defining moments, some of your key learnings. What do you think there would be?
Hmm.
And if you can just map out your journey, it would be lovely.
Well, yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, and I'm sure every individual has their own fascinating parts of their journey. But my father was in the Air Force,
Mm,
so somehow or the other we had this every 2 or 3 years, pack your bags, move. I studied in 15 different schools, from Kendriya Vidyalayas to Air Force schools to
mm,
private schools.
mm.
And I would say that's defined me as an individual.
Sure,
Just
sure.
your ability to uproot yourself, reroute yourself, make friends with different types of people.
Mm, mm, mm,
I've, I've got so much out of that.
mm, mm,
And funnily enough, that aspect has followed me in my professional career. I've only worked for two companies, ICI. I worked for 3 years in two different places, in Rishra in West Bengal, and
yeah.
then right across the country. And then I joined PepsiCo, and I worked with PepsiCo for 25 years. All
25 years.
that's right.
Wow. Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is the time to say you don't look that old, and it's time for me to say, ah.
I don't fall into that. I wish I did. Perfect timing on that one. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, so 25 years, again, different chapters, Sheila. PepsiCo is a great organization, and it's been a great travel agent of sorts. We
Right.
with India, moved to Thailand for 3 years, moved to Hong Kong, came back to India, moved to China, from China to the US, and the last 4 years in the Middle East. So again, so much to learn from moving from one place to the other, interacting with different types of people. The personal side of my life has seamlessly moved into my professional life,
Right, right.
and lots of learnings through the process. You asked about highs and
Highs
lows.
and lows, some defining moments. What do you think those would be? Because
Mm, I'm a very 80 to 120 in terms of my highs and lows. I don't
right,
swing from 0 to
yeah,
200.
yeah, yeah.
So small things make me happy, small things give me highs, and some small things give me lows, but within a certain
Bandwidth.
range. If I had to say highs, I would say the kind of friends that we made. I feel really grateful for the people that we have in our lives
Mm,
through
mm,
these. A definite high was Tarana coming into our life.
yeah.
Um, it's just it's fascinating how it changes your outlook and everything. And sometimes it's scary that what you do on a day-to-day basis could be defining someone else's character. Um, but definitely a high. Um, I was an average student. My interest in sports and everything beyond education was world famous with my parents. I would say for my parents and my family, getting into XLRI was a high, and I didn't realize how big a high it was, right? Because I operate in a range.
Mm,
But when I reflect back, a lot of my life I can thank because I made that effort from being average in education to really putting in an effort and getting into Excel.
mm, 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 mm,
I would say those definitely stand out as some of the highs.
mm.
Lows, mom passing away,
Yeah,
uh,
I
it,
remember that. Yeah.
it just teaches you not to take people for granted. Right?
Mm, mm,
There's so many unsaid conversations and so many things in your mind that,
mm, mm,
that you feel you could have done much more.
mm, mm,
So that definitely was a low.
mm,
Um, Besides that, I think Tarana and Archana's lows impact me. I get a lot of energy from them. So something big that's impacting them definitely impacts me.
mm.
But I can't think of anything. I've always believed, Sheba, that sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the lamppost. And
And that's life. Yes.
that's life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
sit ruminate about if, when, how.
Absolutely, Pavan. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty, isn't it? It's being able um, to be able to see that life is in different colors, and sometimes you're on top of it, and sometimes life is on top of you, and that's okay. I think that is an amazing kind of a perception to have. Um, your you've had a very strong career, and you've how was it for you leaving Pepsi? Was it an easy decision? Was it a or what was it like for you, or did it just happen? Like, how was it?
Um, Look, being a restless person, I never imagined that I would spend 25 years with PepsiCo.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's I've always said it's an organization that made me deliver much more than what I was capable of. If this is what I was capable of doing, PepsiCo always stretched me to deliver 20, 30, 40% more. And from a values perspective, and the organization culture perspective, it gave me a lot. So it was a very difficult decision. Um, the thought of Gen V had been bouncing around in my head, right? The thought of,
Since quite a while, Pavan, the thought of Gen V was there and playing in your, yeah,
yeah, there's some things that
yeah,
in the subconscious, and there's
yeah,
something on
yeah.
the conscious mind. I used to write down on post-it some thoughts, but I never believed, or you get complacent with a career, with an organization, and I never believed that I could
Mm,
um, pull this off.
mm, mm.
And then one day I sat and I did what organizations train you to do. I created a PowerPoint presentation about journey. And
Okay, all right.
when I put those thoughts down, it gave me a little more confidence that
Mm,
this
mm.
can happen. But it was a difficult decision. Again, people,
Yeah.
my team, the emotional connects, it's so difficult to leave that behind.
Mm,
The only rationalization that I had was, look, relationships will continue.
mm, mm,
Uh,
mm.
and it's true. It's been 6, 7 months, and I've been in touch with people. So it's nice to have that continuity.
Yeah. No, and I can imagine that it must have been a tough decision, but I think education and the teens are going to be richer for it, for this kind of a thing that you're trying to do with them.
I really hope so.
Papan, you mentioned about how different it is when Tarana came into your life. Tell me about yourself as a father. What have you learned? What are some of, because that's such a strong part of who you are, right? And
Yeah.
what are some of those, how's that journey been?
So it's an interesting journey. Unlike most people
Mm,
who probably were felt that at a certain age, and after 2 years after marriage, you have a
mm,
child. Um, I never thought I was ready for a child. And we used to have this discussion between Archana and me.
sure, sure.
So from this life between Archana and me, and complete freedom to do what you want, 100% interdependence,
Mm,
to Tarana coming into our lives, everything from small things, obviously, like waking up at night when she used to wake up.
yeah.
I'm a terrible singer. I used to sing to her. I think she used to get scared and go off to sleep versus getting right. Um, uh, from those small things to uh, making sure that you're giving a perspective when you say something,
Mm, mm,
because kids are so impressionable. They can pick up
yeah.
um, the time that you spend
Mm, mm,
having a conversation, listening, right?
mm,
Um, a lot of times, I remember there was a time when I was going to travel to the US. I was taking a morning flight, and Tarana left for school, and I
mm,
didn't get to say bye to her.
mm, mm,
I, I had 45 minutes to get to the airport, and I went to her school, pulled her out of class to say bye to her, and the teacher asked me, "Are you going away for a long period of time?" So I told her, "No, I'm going away for 3 days."
yeah.
And she kind of shook her head.
Well,
Didn't
that's,
decide
yeah,
to complete her. But it draws
yeah,
you out in terms of emotions. And I'm a 80 to 120,
yeah.
mostly control of myself. But you learn so much about giving and getting. Just
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, that says so much about you as a father, and as a human being, to take the, that's quite amazing what you just shared. And what else?
Um, as she's growing up
Yeah.
and as she has firm opinions about things, the other aspect or the other realization is that here is a person who, um, in my mind's eye, 6 months back was a toddler and had definite opinions about US elections and about equality in the world. And sometimes you discount the opinion because she's a baby, and sometimes when you engage in the conversation, you realize how much she is you,
Yeah.
that is me and Archana, and how much she is she.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to watch. And I've always reflected on this thing about how your actions, your words, your day-to-day behaviors can impact someone who's growing up.
Yeah.
And it's always played at the back of my mind whether she's getting the best.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now watching her, I think kids have their own shortlisting mechanism to pick up best of both worlds, and it's beautiful to
Yeah. Yeah.
see her personality develop.
Yeah. And I guess as a parent, to start reconciling with the fact that, you've got to lay it out there and they'll pick up what they want to eat, from the table. And yeah, and I think that's possibly something that happens in the letting go process as well, Pavan. Do you find that's true? And
Absolutely, and from as parents, we never impose
yeah.
stuff on Tarana that you have to study for 2 hours and then you have to do this.
Mm.
We've always said that when she wants to be a child, we are there with her as a child. When she wants to
Mm.
be an adult, we are there with her as an adult.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So yeah, it's the entire journey of watching how their personality develops, how opinions develop, and you mentioned food on the table. There's an entire buffet if you look at
Yeah.
influences from friends and other family and
Yeah.
school and parents. So it's interesting what she's picked up from the buffet, and I'm sure it'll keep changing.
Yes. Yes, I know. Yeah, I guess it's a delight for a lifetime, isn't it, to watch her grow and change and become who she is more than
Yeah,
anything else. But,
absolutely.
in if I know that you have said that they're pretty much on the 80-120, and I love that what you just said. Is there something that you find that you have always lived by? Is there a metaphor, or is there just something that you feel that has guided your life? Is there something that you can say?
Um, I think I'm a fairly easygoing
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
99.999% of the things don't impact me.
Yeah.
That 0.0001%, when it impacts me, I just get completely bullish and stuck. It's probably got to do with my sun sign. I'm a Taurian.
Yeah.
I, as a person, I don't like complexity. I like simplicity.
Mm. Mm.
I like being with people, but I want my space.
Yeah.
So, metaphor. My parents were very, very chilled out,
Mm.
and we were not a conflict-oriented
Mm.
family.
Mm.
In fact, a lot went under the carpet,
Mm.
so much so that the carpet was 5 feet high by the time I left house. There
Mm.
was a lot underneath that carpet. Um, I, my philosophy the 80 to 120, the metaphor that you were talking about. I just feel that when the going gets tough, the tough need to crack jokes. You don't have to take life too seriously.
Wear it lightly. Absolutely, Pavan. Yeah.
There is, while the moment is important and seems like a big crisis, having lived many different crises in life, they all become very small and insignificant.
What makes this happen for you? How do you see this perspective that you get, kind of zooming out and just seeing it for not such a big crisis? What do you think is brought this on?
Uh, it's a very good question, Sheba, and I don't think I have an answer, but I have time and again noticed um, I have the ability to disassociate myself from the situation.
Mm, mm,
And sometimes I feel I'm watching myself. There is a mini Pavan sitting on the shoulder and watching the interaction, not
mm,
necessarily.
mm,
Now there are positives about it and there are negatives about it,
mm,
obviously. But it's somewhere
mm,
that's coming to me, and um, with very early on, I would say in the roles that I have played. Again, I got roles of responsibility very early on in my career.
mm,
And then you deal with big issues. Um, and experience teaches you that
mm,
what seems big at a certain time is only for that day, only for that week.
mm,
And it just becomes small.
mm, mm.
You don't have to overthink it, you don't have to over worry about it. I guess it's experience that's brought that in me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So there's tremendous amount of resilience is what I'm seeing, and also the opportunity to no, not the ability, not the ability to step back from anything, and I guess that gives you the perspective to see it in the light that it's just a situation, and um, I think that's a huge one for people who are right now on the journey to take back and to be able to step back and to I think that's would that be something that you would advise, and I don't mean advise as an advice, but is that like a message you would people who say a younger Pavan or people who are just about stepping out into their work life or in the middle of it right now, what would you tell them? What's the coming from your experience?
I would tell them not to grow up.
Yeah, yeah,
There is a joy in the child in you, and you should always keep it alive to keep perspective, to keep balance, right? And I've always been taught give everything your best. Right?
right.
So I'd say give it your best, but don't get obsessed and the life has so much more to offer.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
just just make sure that you don't forget that aspect. Right?
yeah,
And seriously, that aspect of not growing up, I still believe there's a child inside me,
yeah.
which every now and then plays a role in keeping that balance.
I think that is beautiful, Pavan, and that's an aspect of you that I'm so delighted to see coming out in this because it's so wonderful to experience it, and to see that and what a message, to always be let the child play is what I'm hearing you say, and that's beautiful. Is there anything you feel you could have done differently or would have liked to do differently?
No,
No.
learn singing. I get so criticized at home. But would I do anything differently from a personal perspective? Let's break it up, personal
Yeah,
and
yeah,
professional.
yeah.
Um, no, absolutely not. Life has been really kind.
Mm, mm,
There are there's been a mix of challenges, but on the whole, I would say that we've been really blessed and lucky for the life that we've led. Professionally, no, look on
no,
both sides. I genuinely believe that going with the flow
yeah.
is very important unless there's a big enough force that comes and changes that.
Mm, mm,
So maybe we could have gone to the US earlier,
mm.
right, from a professional career perspective. Maybe we could have had Tarana earlier from a personal perspective. But it's not big enough in my head
Yes,
to
yes,
rewrite
yeah, yeah.
any part of my life.
And I see that, and there's this beautiful, and it's probably part of the child that you talk about, is this total acceptance of whatever, wherever life takes you, and whatever it brings, and not too much time wasted on analysis, or and that's not what I'm seeing at all. What I'm hearing is that just going with the flow, and that's what you said was beautiful. Unless and until, just go with the flow, unless and until there's a force that kind of compels you to change direction. But that also is a force compelling you to change direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And to change direction, for me, it is you have to see it with your eyes, you have to hear it with your ears, and you have to feel it in your heart. The triangulation has to happen.
Mm, mm,
If the triangulation doesn't happen, I just believe the force is not big enough.
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Pavan, if there was your unique lens, yeah, I would think of a legacy question, but I think that's been done to death. I just want to ask you is, what is the unique thing that you feel that you bring to, because each individual is totally unique and nobody can replace you. What do you think that facet is that you add to humankind,
I have two broken teeth in the front that I've never that's unique about me. Absolutely unique. It's I, I think it's a combination of factors that make people unique. There's no unique
Mm,
factor.
mm,
Uh, but if I had to pick out based on what I hear,
yeah,
what
yeah,
my team used to tell me, what people around me tell me, I think I'm a multiplier. Not in terms of a rabbit,
yeah.
right? We only have one child. I'm a multiplier in terms of energy. Um, Sorry, there was a call coming in between.
That's okay. It just seemed that it got accentuated, what you just said. So,
Yeah, the music started
yeah,
with
exactly.
I'm a multiplier. um, I'm a yeah, I feel I do have the ability to connect with people and get the best out of them.
Mm, mm,
I don't know if you play cards, Teen Patti during Diwali.
mm, mm, mm.
I'm relating the multiplier or the best out of people to playing cards, Teen Patti. Anyone can win when you have
Yeah.
good cards.
Yes, yes.
The beauty, the excitement is winning when you don't have good cards. And that's what I believe about people as well.
Mm,
It's not like you will always be surrounded by talented people.
mm, mm.
Everyone has a unique talent. Um, you just you have to be the force sounds too high up. You have to be the
Can.
integrator
Yeah. Yeah.
that brings the best out of people.
Did you say integrator? The integrator. Yes. Yes.
The
Yeah.
integrator or the multiplier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that's unique about me. But like I said, um, it's a difficult question.
I think there'll be many, many, many people who will agree with that, Pavan. That the to be able to take out the best out of people, to understand your talent and to bring it out is something that you've done, and it has been it has been demonstrated for years in your career and in your journey. So I think you need to take a huge bow for that one. It's I'm sure people across the world would be saying, yes, Pavan, that's true. You know,
But
yeah, yeah. It's an absolute delight to have you acknowledge that, and also for the others to get an opportunity to endorse that, and I'm sure many will on that. And you have probably heard this many times yourself.
yeah, I've heard it. I tend to get embarrassed with. It's just one of those things that I don't like attention.
You understand?
Um, so
Yeah.
it embarrasses me when
Yeah.
something good is said. I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah. Well, that's also so endearing, isn't it? Um, what value do conversations like this bring for you, Pavan? Is there in this kind of is there anything that you feel that there is use in this something like this?
Yeah. So most of life
Yeah.
is about transactional conversation. They are about reacting based on experience.
Yeah.
Conversations like this, which are reflective, um, make you think about the experience itself.
Mm, mm,
Um, and that pause and reflect moment is really special, Sheba. And I can tell you, I've always enjoyed my conversations with you. There's this calmness about you that draws people out. Obviously, you're an excellent coach. You know what button to push and where to step back and deal with what the person is talking about. But it's really nice. It's really fun
yeah.
to just think why do you do things the way you do them?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great to hear, and thank you, Pavan. Thank you for that vote of confidence. It's always good to get validated, and thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out this absolutely amazing soul brew, which I have so loved with you?
I loved it as well, Shiba, and I think just talking to various people and hearing some of the interviews. I watched Rashi's interview, which was really nice. Sanjay, who I've known for a long period
Yes.
of time, these people I've known for many years, and then Archana, even your own spouse,
Yes.
certain questions that you asked and certain responses while you know the person, it just adds an element.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not biased, but I believe Archana was absolutely the best. So love the conversation. Happy to always connect with you, Shiva. And just generally for people, it's enjoy life. There's a lot that's happening around us that we can look at and say, oh God, this is wrong, that's wrong. But there's a lot that we can be thankful for. And what we discussed, let the child inside you contribute to that happiness. Don't use the adult lens on everything.
That's so powerful. Thank you so much, Pavan, for the time that you spent with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I wish you every success for GenWe. I just love the idea, and I'm sure it's going to grow in leaps and bounds. And thank you so much for making the time today. Really appreciated
Shiva,
it.
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation. Went on to my second cup of coffee. Yes, it's been fun.
Thank you, Pavan. Take care. Thank you.